Continental drift was a theory proposed in the early 1900s. The idea is that the continents on Earth did not always look as they do today, but have drifted around the Earth as a result of tectonic plate movement. In this video, you will learn about the theory of continental drift and what scientific evidence supports this idea. Alfred Wegener was a German geophysicist who was alive in the early 1900s. He first proposed the idea of continental drift in 1912. He based this theory off of four major pieces of evidence, but was met with opposition in the scientific community until the 1950s. The theory suggests that there has been a large-scale movement of continents across the globe, and that back in the Permian period, 225 million years ago, all the continents were joined as one supercontinent called Pangaea. Then around 200 million years ago, Pangaea split into Laurasia and Gondwanaland. Since this split, the continents have continued to move and spread apart more and more, and today's configuration of continents represents the most recent stage in their movement. The continents will continue to gradually move around the Earth at a very slow rate of just a few inches per year. 200 million years from now, the Earth will likely look very different than it does today. Let's take a look at some of the evidence that supports this theory. The first piece of evidence is fossil evidence. Pangaea began to break up during the Jurassic period, which contained very distinct fossils. By digging for fossils along the coasts of continents, scientists were able to find evidence of the same animals and plants existing on completely separate continents. Certain animals that could never cross the water if the continents were in current positions were proven to have lived in many different areas. Each color band pictured here shows the locations where various fossils were found. The main animals used as evidence are the Mesosaurus, Gnathosaurus, and Lysosaurus. Look at the plant Glossoteris, for example. Fossils of the plant have been found in bands across 4 different continents. This could only have happened if the continents were once connected and plant seeds could easily blow between them. The fact that fossils of the same animals and plants can be found on entirely different continents is considered fossil evidence of continental drift. A second supporting piece of evidence for continental drift is also the most simple. Alfred Wegener was working with maps when he noticed that it appeared as though some of the continents clearly look like they can fit together. The fact that Earth's continents fit together like a puzzle helps support the theory of continental drift. You can see how Earth's current continents once may have fit together by looking at this animation displayed here. Alfred Wegener proposed that it can't just be coincidence that all the continents fit together, and this single fact initiated him to research the topic further. The third piece of evidence is called geologic evidence. There are 2 types of geologic evidence. The first involves coal. Coal is a substance produced by decomposing organisms and is usually found only in areas with warmer climates that have many living things. Coal deposits have been found in areas that could not currently contain large amounts of life, such as Antarctica. This led Wegener to believe that continents that contain coal were once found in warmer climates, and the continents themselves have since moved to colder ones. The fact that coal deposits can only form in warmer climates, and they have been found in continents that have cold climates, is one piece of geologic evidence for continental drift. We can observe the second piece of geologic evidence by looking at the picture here. Scientists look at rock patterns that have been created over millions of years. Rock patterns are unique, and identical rock patterns are usually only found in one location. However, along the coasts of some continents, there are rock bands that appear to match up. Look at the image here. It shows rock samples from the coasts of 2 different continents. It's clear that portions of the rock can match up. The fact that similar rock layer patterns are found on different continents is another piece of geologic evidence for continental drift. Our final piece of evidence is glacial evidence. Glacial evidence is one of the main pieces of scientific evidence that support continental drift. Geologists predict that 200,000 years ago, there was massive glacial movement out of Antarctica. As these glaciers moved, they cut into the Earth, leaving behind long straight grooves in the land covering hundreds of miles. You can see these lines made on the picture displayed. The grooves in land that are formed as a result of glacial movement is called glacial till. By lining up lines of glacial till found on the coasts of continents today, scientists are able to show that glaciers must have moved in straight lines across connected continents 200,000 years ago. The only limitation is that these grooves can only be seen in the southern hemisphere. Glacial evidence does not clearly show where the northern continents were located, but it does support continental drift.